Our theme for Advent has been, what are you waiting for? And as I was getting ready for this Holy Day Mass, I was trying to put myself in Mary's shoes, or high heels, or whatever she was wearing in those days. How many of you women have had a child? Okay, so I haven't. But thanks, Jason, for the vote of confidence. But I want you to think about when you first found out you were pregnant. The first time. Do you remember that? Now, I wonder what Mary was thinking. I mean, to me, I've been around a lot of pregnant women, though I've not been married, and it's kind of a combination of, I'm sure it's exciting and scary at the same time. But add on top of that her situation. Okay, so she just happened to be sitting in the kitchen, and an angel showed up and said, "Hi." And she wondered what this was about. And then he said, "Now you're going to have a baby." And she goes, "I'm kind of dating, but that's about it right now. How can this be?" And he said, "Oh, don't worry, the Holy Spirit will overshadow you." Like that clears everything up. Oh, I should have thought of that. And then goes on to tell her that her child will be the Son of God and his kingdom will last forever. Now, think back to when you found out you were pregnant the first time and throw that on top of it. So I wonder what she was waiting for. It's interesting. The scriptures teach us a lot of things, but the scriptures also teach us a lot by what they don't say. And do you realize that we hear nothing about Mary until this gospel? Nothing. Before the kitchen incident. And that's not what this feast is about. If you remember what Heidi read in the introduction today, this isn't about Jesus being conceived. It's about Mary being conceived. Right, Anne? Right, Anne? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anne was the one with the boots on. And so, why do we have this gospel? Because it's the first thing we have. And so the church looks at what Mary's response was and backs up from that passage that we have tonight and tries to figure out the fact that there really isn't any way she could have done this on her own. God must have equipped her specially. Now, it's great for Mary, but what about us? Thought you'd never ask. In the second reading tonight, we understand that God has a plan for us as well. Paul tells us in this letter to the Ephesians, "In him we also are chosen, destined in accord with the purpose of the one who accomplishes all things according to the intention of his will, so that we might exist for the praise of his glory." Now, Mary did that perfectly, huh? She was especially equipped. But so are we. Not in the same way, but so are we. And that's why this feast is important for us. That's why we back this up and say, boy, God must have protected her from the first moment that she was conceived so that she was able to do what she did. I don't know what it would be like to be sitting in your house and have somebody come in and say, "Hi, you're going to have a baby. It's not yours, but don't worry about it." I mean, we can make Mary so romantic that we take the reality out of it. That's the reality of it. As I've said before, it's funny she didn't say, "There's a nice Jewish girl next door. Why don't you go talk to her?" But we know from the rest of Mary's life that her faithfulness was always something that drove her more deeply in prayer. She didn't run away from things. She had plenty of reason to run away from things. All she wanted to do was to understand it. She said, "How can this be? Because I have no relations with a man." And then her last line really became the way she lived her life. And that's what you and I are called to reflect upon in our own lives. Wouldn't it be great if we put on our tombstone, "It was done to him according to your word"? That takes a lot of faith. We'd rather do things our way, kind of like Dean Martin. And yet, Mary shows us that God equips and accompanies and blesses that kind of a life. So as we celebrate the Feast of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary, we do so mindful that you and I, in this time right now of our lives on the earth, we are kind of doing our own kind of waiting. But that's not a passive waiting. It's waiting to one day enjoy that great vision, the beatific vision that we're all called to. In the meantime, we pray that we have the same kind of courage as Mary did to say, "I'm your servant. Let it be done to me according to your word."